Okay, I'd like to welcome all of you to another one of our insights and updates, full funding training. We just got done watching an interesting video about about why people don't want to work today. The real reason why people don't want to work anymore. So, those of you that are here live, you got to see that video. I just posted it in the group chat on Telegram, and now I'm looking for your feedback. As you were watching that video, what came to mind? Who would like to go first?
Well, I can tell you, there are people out there that don't want to work. They've been too used to collecting their unemployment benefits, staying home, being couch potatoes. And then, kind of as he said, when they get there, the money isn't there that they want. So they just turn around and go back and say, here it is. So there's ways around that, which is pool funding
There you
for
go.
those
You're going right
people.
into the tie-in there.
I'm telling you, you reach out to these people and you tell them we have a way. And if you still want to be a couch potato, you can do that
Yeah.
because you'll make a lot of money here and you just have to get involved.
Yeah.
So
We,
it's it's
maybe we should
something,
run ads like that. Get paid to be a couch potato. It might grab some people. Who knows?
right? Exactly.
All
So
right.
yeah, I mean you never know. And I could get a little potato and put it up there.
Yeah, you're from Idaho, so you know all about the potatoes. So,
Potatoes, yeah.
Right?
all right, all right.
The
Thank
Spud
you.
Man.
That's
Yeah.
right, Mark. Thank you very much for your input. Who else would like to
With the
comment
B-52s playing in the
on
background.
the video there? What did you think of that host, that particular host, and where he's coming from, his point of view?
Well, he seemed to have a real common sense approach to, analyzing exactly what's going on. And, the people that are going to college with the aspirations and the dreams, the big dream, get your college degree and then work for a corporation, uh, or start your own. Um, that has completely changed. And in the workplace, I think back in, let's say, well, back when my father was working, the greatest generation, you could hold on to a job for your whole career. I mean, you could be a lifetime employee with companies. And in today's world, I think the last time I saw any data on that was if you stayed 5 years, you'd be considered lucky to be there that long. Things change, and the companies will change. They'll move. They downsize. All those things. And yeah, so people coming into the workplace, you know, s- starting out and having dreams, uh, they get squashed pretty quickly in today's world. And it's really a shame. And, there does need to be something in some way, uh, for us to kind of turn that around. And just, again, like Mark said, programs like pool funding, it's a great example of a very simple, basic way to bring in money into your household, for your family, for you, and you can help others. I mean, if you really go for it, you can help a lot of people. Uh, yeah. So that's
All
that's
right. It's
my thoughts on that.
excellent input there, Joe. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So, how many of you are like me, kind of finding yourself um, pitying the college graduates of today that have bought into the system and went into great debt to get that degree? How many of you kind of find yourself feeling kind of pity for these poor people that are young, starting out, and then they've got like a student loan that's as big as a house on their shoulders, and they bought into the whole system that degree is what they need, and it's going to all work out after that. And then that's just not true, right?
Yeah, and then when they graduate, they get out in the real world, they find out I went to school for all of this for nothing. Now I got this giant debt on my shoulder I got to pay.
Yeah,
So, oh yeah, it's my kid said, Dad, I've seen too many people go to college for a certain degree type. They can't even get that job when they get out.
that's right.
So they
Yeah.
paid all this money for that degree that's not going to do them any bit of good. And I
And,
said, well, you're right. And I will tell you that being in the broadcasting industry for 47 plus years, there was a job opportunity that came up at a TV station. And so I went in to talk to the GM and I said, hey, I can cover that for you. He says, do you have a college degree? I said, no, I have something better than that. What's that? And I said, it's called experience. And he goes, well, our policy is if you don't have a college degree, we can't hire you. And I'm like, let me ask you something. Does that little piece of paper that they get when they graduate show the experience they've had? And now at that time, I was in the business 30 some years. I said, I got 30 plus years in this business. My experience outdoes anybody's college education. And you're going to tell me because I don't have one, you won't hire me? Boy, dude, you're not the norm.
yeah. Yeah,
You know,
the truth is that's just that one guy, but maybe the guy right above him would probably, work a deal out with you, you know.
well, yeah, if I'd have went to his boss, I probably would have got the job, right?
I'm telling you, because there's a lot of things I did that, you have to have a degree. I don't have a degree, but I secured many jobs because I just was reaching out to the right people, to get the job. So been through that, and actually I learned that from um from doing recruiting. At one point I was doing recruiting, and I learned a lot of little, if you want to call them tricks, just how to meet the right people. But anyway, but the thing is,
Well, yeah, and
the
sometimes
job never put me in six figures. And there was never a single job that as far as I tried to find something that would pay six figures. Of course, going back now, way over 10 years here, guys. So things have changed, but yeah, I never cracked open six figures. So I ended up going from, the regular Joe kind of deal to millionaire status, and it was because of opportunity, and
right.
just flew right past that six figure
Yeah.
objective that I was pursuing for decades,
Yeah.
Well, in my industry that I was in it's who you know.
Yeah,
It's not, and I've noticed over the years as I listen to different radio stations across the country, it's not about how good you are anymore. It's about who you know. And it's pretty
yeah,
sad because it
yeah,
put a lot of good jocks out of work.
it's true. Yep.
And that person was younger than you, Mark, the person who interviewed you,
What's that?
and that person that interviewed you was younger than you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I think he didn't hire me was because he knew I'd take
Yeah.
his job.
Yeah, I was just
I
gonna
didn't
say
want his
that.
job. I've
That's what I was just
I've
gonna
done that.
that's what I was just gonna
Been there,
say.
done that. Don't want it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that at one point everything made sense. Maybe back in the 1950s, everything seemed balanced and made sense. And Dad went to work, Dad came home from work, and he took care of everything. Mom didn't have to work. She could if she wanted to, but she didn't have to because Dad brought in enough, right? To have that middle class dream, home ownership, vacations, all that stuff. But as you were listening to this guy, he's like saying, home ownership, no, not ain't gonna happen, even with the job, right?
Right. Mm.
Your vacations, forget about that. Most likely what's gonna happen is they're gonna overwork you. You're gonna have you come in and put more time into something, and then at the end just end up burning you anyway with a layoff or whatever, because that's just become the normal thing. So
Right. Well, my nephew works for a car dealership, and he told me He said, Uncle Mark, he said, you want to hear something funny? And I go, sure. He goes, when people come in to buy a car, new car, you whatever, he said, they can't afford a house, but they will buy a $900 a month car payment.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Mm.
Yep. So the whole system is changed quite a bit. Some might even say that right now it's very toxic, as far as you know, I think especially in the US, as far as countries go, probably one of the most toxic working countries is the US probably right now. Just he mentioned like one example where a person gave notice of his previous job to, because he accepted an offer to go work for a company, and on the day that he was supposed to get started, they told him, "Oh, we don't need you after all," and that was really his problem, right? They they had no concern about the fact that he gave notice at the other job, right? He did the right thing, give notice, and then whatever. So yeah, it's you have the executive level of companies here raking in big dollars while the general workforce is super underpaid for how hard they work, and so he mentioned that as well in the video. So it's got to be very discouraging in 2024, right? For people that are actually looking for a job, because uh what are your options out there? So unless you have some very special skill that in high demand, and most people don't have that, right? Most people have more or less general skills, and so if you find yourself looking for a job, it's a very tough thing. And then any kind of commitment you make there, it doesn't mean that the other side isn't equally committed, right? So even if you come in with the right attitude, you want to bring value to the company that you're going to come work for. It doesn't mean that they see you the same way, right? Especially if it's the larger the company, the less value they have in the individual, it appears, right?
You're just a number.
Yeah. Well, I
There's a
think
lot of
that this makes people not even want even there's kind of like they have this thing this like this concept called learned helplessness. Have you heard of that concept?
Mhm.
Okay, learned helplessness. And so because of the toxicity of the situation,
Mm.
some people just get depressed, and then they kind of have like
Yeah, yeah,
they just want to give up because like
yeah,
they
yeah,
they
true.
they
I was just
they
going to say, there's
they
a lot of fear out there nowadays.
they
There's a lot of
they, they,
fear.
they don't know what to believe, right?
Yeah, true.
What do what's there to believe in when it comes to
Mm.
the whole idea of work hard, have a good attitude, all the standard, things that we'd like to tell, people that, are workers, hey, if you work hard and you have a good attitude, right? This is the standard advice,
Mm.
but how does that pay off actually, right?
Yeah.
So that means that and the AI is now in a rush, right? You can't even like look at anything anymore without AI somehow touching on it, right? Right. So
Mm.
we can see how AI can play a
Lady.
role
Right.
in it's just and you combine that, if you combine AI with robotics, okay, you take the two of those together, you quite literally have replaced humanity when it comes to work. So in pool funding, we're just taking a stance. Well, the world's changed. You know, we might as well embrace that world. That is what it is. It's not gonna stop. You can't stop the revolution of AI or robotics. It's not gonna stop. It's gonna go, and it's gonna come out even stronger, and you're gonna see more of it. So since it's not something that is gonna, it's not gonna be thrown in the closet and say, okay, forget about that. That means that we have to make adjustments. Okay. And in a way, the silver lining here that we'd like to point at is that maybe all this is happening for a reason. maybe it's time for humanity to move up a notch in consciousness, right? And actually find other ways to express themselves other than being a worker, laborer, working, working a job, right? I mean, being a couch potatoes, that may not necessarily be what I'm talking about here, but I think that we can, if we have time and if the robots will end up making everything cheaper for us to buy as consumers, right? And AI does the same thing with services, then perhaps
Hold it. I apologize for interrupting, but AI may make things cheaper. It's not going to be cheaper for us. It's just going to be more money in the greedy pockets of the companies.
yeah, well, I mean, there's that, but at some point, there's let's just say that there's a shakeup happening between people, the populace, and big business. Let's just put it that way, you know. And even large companies realize that if they make people too angry at their brand, they won't be a brand much longer, right? We've actually seen pretty big things just suddenly disappear, right? It's happened. There's a number of cases of that. So yeah. But anyway, the I think that humanity has a larger role to play in what I like to refer to as consciousness. You might all have different terms for it, but for me, uh, this is an opportunity to elevate, and actually express ourselves in different ways, But I believe that in order to have the ideal outcome in all of this, that there's going to need something that's going to unify the people, okay? Bring people together, where they're, working for the common good, right? That kind of a thing. Because this whole idea that we all have to, compete and we have to fight each other in order to get our little scraps, that that's becoming more and more clear that strategy just doesn't work, you know. You totally isolate yourself and then just try to be competitive. It doesn't work. So embedded in pool funding is the idea that you're going to build relationships, at least 4 solid relationships, right? If you build 4 solid relationships, you can go to the moon with that. Okay. And these are long term, not something that you're just hanging out for a couple of months or a couple of years. But why not ongoing? Why not for the rest of your life? Why can't we make a system that's from the ground up that supports the population, and ultimately we just help circulate the money that's sitting in that market, and bring it back in, because that's the problem with the current trend as it is. If things don't change in another 10 years from now, what's going to be left at the economic level if all the money's sitting in the market? That makes sense. Technology takes over everything. The money ends up in the market. Traders can't get it back out very well because, that's probably one of the most competitive, things out there is trading. And for every good trader, there's probably 1,000 that are not so good. And the one barely can take profits, and you take care of their situation. It may be at the expense of 1,000 that are losing on the other end, right? So that paradigm of trading is not the answer to get money out of the market into the economy. Pool funding has the answer for that, right? As we get bigger, we'll be able to pull more money out, and we'll be able to do it faster. We'll be able to do it better, and it's going to circulate. And we don't ever have to worry about draining that pond because it's so big. It's too big. It'd be impossible to drain. It's at the point of like, take all the money in the world and most of it's there, right? That's where it's sitting. So it's just getting circulation to come back into the general economy through the individual. That's what pool funding can do. Okay. So our solution isn't necessarily another way to work, but another way to look at everything. And then we have a system that doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of money, it doesn't take a lot of people, but it's a system that each person, as they plug into the system and participate in it, what they've got to bring to bear is so small compared to what could be brought back out of it, over time. Okay. The foundation's laid. We're heading into a much faster growth. That's coming, and you'll see our pricing on our coins go back up sharply. It won't take long for it to do like a V-shaped recovery and then go up to new all-time highs. So this is my outlook in the near term for where we're at in pool funding. And then our message can be spread far and wide, because people that this gentleman on his show there, in that video, the people he's talking about are the same people that we're looking to tell them about pool funding. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
We're the
Yes.
alternative.
Yes.
We're the alternative to the bank. We're the alternative to that traditional job, because it's not traditional if the other side's not there. If your loyalty is not worth anything, then the tradition's over. You know what I'm saying? Right? So yeah, anybody can go and work 40 hours or whatever they tell you to do. Sometimes they ask more from you, especially if they give you a salary. It's interesting how many people that have a salary instead of a wage, how many more hours they work over a person that has a wage. You find that interesting, right? So anybody else like to contribute? Anybody feeling anything that they'd like to talk about?
Well, just one thing to piggyback on you, Ace, about consciousness. And I saw something where 25% of people now are researching and learning about consciousness. So there's a movement in that direction. And I believe that the more people who begin to learn about that and how it works, people are tired of losing. And so they're searching for other ways. And, it can teach you self-reliance. It can teach you stability and building from a strong foundation. And the more belief that you develop within yourself, the more you can spread that around and share it with other people. And so we can all lift one another up in this way. It's just a group effort to rise above, all of what you've just been talking about, and all of the negative things that are happening in business, and it pretty much covers everything. There's a movement, and it's necessary. So
well,
okay, somebody else.
Here's what people will find out when they start to probe the ideas of consciousness, right? Give us some time to or have conversations surrounding it, or research. Go on YouTube and look at things where people are talking about consciousness, because there's lots of layers to that, and lots of angles. But consciousness raising has a direct impact on the individual's well-being. And we're not just talking about, just, their spirituality and, how they might feel more connected. No, they're doing better off financially. You raise consciousness. It's like, like what's the saying, on a rising tide, all ships rise, or something like that. Right. So you raise your consciousness. It's not just your, spirituality that might be increasing, but it's also your financial life, your physical life. You'll find that consciousness impacts everything at the individual level, right?
Yeah, it's all related. Yeah.
It is absolutely interconnected, and the fact is that this thing that we're going to go out here and the world's going to provide, well, people are finding out that that's the lie, that's the illusion, right? You want to go in here. This is the direction you got to go. The more you go out here, you'll be frustrated, and it's becoming
Right.
more and more evident. You go in here, make some adjustments, make adjustments here, you know, eliminate self-limiting beliefs. Okay. Identify and eliminate self-limiting beliefs. Okay. Ask yourself questions about what do you think? What do you feel? What do you, you know, why do you believe this and why do you believe that? Is that belief holding you back? And if it is holding you back, what's an alternative to that belief? You know, that would be more uplifting or more empowering, you know? And this is where the rise of consciousness matters. And this is where I'm at. I'm centered on that, you know. So full funding is an extension of my level of consciousness, really, if you want to look at it that way, you know. So what's inspired me to even put this together the way I did and what I expect it to turn into as we keep working at it, and in the long-term vision of it all, you know, it's not just a a great financial vehicle, you know, it's not just financial freedom. No, it's much more than that. It's about connecting with yourself and connecting with some key relationships, you know, your referrals, your sponsor, you know, some teammates, leaders, right? In having connections that can last you a lifetime, that that can everybody can come up together, right? And we help one another, not in the spirit of competition, but in the spirit of collaboration, right? To collaborate instead of compete, right? And that we lift each other as a community, right? And we're all for one, right? So all for one and one for all, you know. So we're all in it together. We're here to, make sure that everybody, can succeed at this. So, yep. I don't see many more bumps in the road ahead. Once we get a couple of things in place, I just think it's just going to be like we're gonna start going into some hyper growth. The message is this is the right time for it. And I've always said that the number one quality you're looking for when you're talking to someone as a prospect, the number one quality, you're kind of new, you might not have heard this before, Joe. The number one quality I look for in a prospect is how dissatisfied they are. The more dissatisfied they are, the better they are as a prospect. Okay? They're a much higher prospect if they're very dissatisfied. So if they're tired of all this out here, yeah, and they want to take a little bit of control back to and be empowered. We're the right community for them, and their eyes will not be hard to open. You know, it's the ones that are blinded by all of this out here. They're the ones that are hardest to share the opportunity with, because they're still blind by all of this out here. They're still buying the illusion. You know what I'm saying? But how much longer do they have before it's like, how can you still believe in that illusion, right? The evidence is stacking up. It's getting too clear that if you believe in this, then you're being fooled, right? And
That's a
there's
global
a cost.
illusion of fear factor.
Yeah,
It's like fear, like the show Fear Factor personified.
yeah.
Yeah, for
I did
sure.
a training one time on Fear Factor. I played a couple of Fear Factor what do they call it? Challenges, whatever they call it, right? So
Yeah,
and yeah, and what people were willing to do to win a prize of $50,000, and right. You're like, wow, you're willing to do that, but you're not willing to go talk to a few of your friends or whatever, So anyway, um, the uh, the thing that you're going to find is the more you look out here, you might find yourself feeling the sensations of fear, right? So I'm glad you bring up that word there, because fear's the enemy, guys. Okay.
mm,
The two
no, for
most
sure.
wanted enemies, fear and doubt. Okay. Now realize this, that if you have self-doubt, that's the worst thing you could ever do to yourself. Okay. don't have self-doubt. You need to start realizing you're much better than that. To never doubt yourself. Just give yourself credit that you can learn. And we provide a learn, do process here. You learn, and then you do, and then you learn, and you do. And things are actually going to be more simplified and easier as we move forward, the way I see the direction we're heading. So don't doubt yourself, and don't let fear be the guide. Fear is what prevents people from, doing what is necessary to have a good life. Okay. And the more people that buy into fear, the more they're trapped into, a life that, what people would call miserable, a miserable life. Fear will lead you
Ace,
straight into misery. Yes, sir.
Dave, I think that video just should give people a lot of confidence because you realize that there's a space that we're in, we can fill the gap, and we should be very confident that we can take a part in changing people's lives.
What we bring to the table is a general solution for the masses, right? It's not just for a few thousand people over here or a few hundred people over there. Well, you're right, Steve. What we have is something that is for in the masses. This is what they're facing, as they go out and do whatever the conventional and traditional way of doing things, the job or whatever, pursuing, getting their next job or whatever. How thrilling is that? Not very thrilling. It's lost its thrill, right?
Yeah, we just
But
talked to a guy yesterday that's a construction worker, and he says he's just getting a little bit. He's not very old. He's a middle-aged guy, and he says he's just getting a little too old to get up there, get on the top of the roof and do the construction work. And he said, "I wish it was the easier way." And I said, "Just so happens I've got that stand taken care of for you."
there you go. He gave you the lead in. Yeah. And
That's right.
the fact is, when people come to these realizations, and sometimes you wonder why it took them so long. I mean, I'm not sure how old you're talking about this person might be, but some of these people, they're still doing construction after 30. Why?
Yeah,
Why?
that's about what he was, about in his mid-30s probably.
Yeah,
And he's just saying it's a little too dangerous.
it is, and especially if you got a family to take care of, you have to go with that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, David, I think your iPad, right? You got your hand up. Who is iPad?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
The screen is much to get adjusted to with the sensitivity or lack thereof of it, and I don't know how to adjust it, but I've adjusted it on Android before.
Oh, okay.
But that was a very good video. I missed some of it due to, complications or whatever. And
So
what
on
have you, but
Telegram now, so you can watch it
yeah, I'll
again.
see it again. And a lot of what people were saying, especially him, it's like, I have been in that very aware and dissatisfied, yet when you're younger, you're dissatisfied and you're hungry and looking and for the alternative, whatever that is, the Amway or whatever, multi-level networking, whatever, something that's not traditional job. And that's where I've been. Like when I grew up as a child, what do you want to be? It wasn't a fireman or a doctor. I just wanted to be free. That was my answer when people said, "Oh, David, what do you want to be when you go up or go to college?" It's like, not college, but free.
Yeah.
And here I am, decades later, pretty much not necessarily not arrived, but certainly not arrived and flying high, so to speak. But I mean, it's definitely within the sights now. The light at the end of the tunnel is not a freaking train, as it seemed like for decades as it was. And no job ever satisfied. I always had it as a very short-term goal. And unfortunately, that short-term goal ended up way longer than ever anticipated. But I always, like the next job, the next city, the next whatever. And one of these days, if I don't give up, which I haven't, and I won't, life's going to be amazing. But I would have never have thought it would take this long to get what it is out of life, the regular stuff that the people in the 50s and 60s had easily,
Right.
that people since then have not been able to do. Like, who would have thought
Yeah, well
that you
said.
can't afford a car, not like a luxury car, the SUV that everyone's getting? Like, really, you're driving a freaking Escalade and you don't own a house? How stupid are you? Like, just get a car and get a house and get the house first at that. Like, really? Who are you trying to impress? Like, get your life in order financially. Know how money works. I'm just like shocked, but there's a lot of very uninformed, you know, believe in the smoke up your backside that the country or whoever, whatever, that they're believing all that crap out there. Get a good job and get blah, 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 education, all that crap. I never believed that.
Yeah.
It's just getting worse. And to think that today people are still believing that, I'm like, how naive or deaf, dumb, and stupid are you? Like, what the hell happened to have you think the way you think that is normal or good? Like, that's been gone for decades.
Yeah, my hat's off to you, David, because most people haven't given it much thought, but you obviously have, and so my hat's off to you that you caught on to that early on, you know. So, but yeah, you know, there is a better way, and but there has to be a place where there's a large enough community, right? That it has that long-term thing. And that's what we got to build. We got to build that large community where this thing just becomes like a rock. It's just going to be here like ongoing. So it'd be the one thing people could count on. So, and we can get to that size. It doesn't have to take a long time in a technological world like ours. Doesn't have to take a long time for us to become a very large group of people, right? But we can all point our fingers together and say, we came up with a solution for this. It's not just one thing. It's a solution for all of these things. So that's the world we're in. We can say, okay, the world made its choice. Well, we have a choice too. So we've come together to be a part of this community so that we can help people have a better way and not be a slave. Okay, let's be honest with you guys. Let's be honest. You know, if you go back far enough and you look at the word employee, it was just another term used for the slave. Okay, the real the slave, right? You know, so even the word wage that goes back to slavery. You know, and a lot of people are not aware of that. You know.
And the Bible says the wages of sin is death. So you just go work for wages and you're guaranteed death, or certainly not the life that you had planned or thought was possible.
I think they're going to try to squeeze taxes in there somewhere too. So, you know, anyway, so there you go, guys. Thanks for coming to our insights and updates training today. I want to give you a chance to pause and think how valuable it is what we have to offer, that there is a large world out there that needs exactly what we have. And I hope that you all have the courage to share the message, because that's all it's going to take, right? One way or another, you know, we get our message out there. We're using technology, but you guys don't forget that voice of yours matters, right? So use it. Just come from the point of view that you care, right? And that's why you want to share, right? Because you know, sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Get her done.
Always a pleasure to be here with you guys. We'll see you guys next week on Sunday.
Likewise, eh?
And we can go ahead and unmute now and say goodbye. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
See ya.
See you later, Ace.
Thanks, everybody.
Meeting today.
Bye for now.
Excellent. Have a good night, everyone.
Your weekends well.